The Jagdpanzer 38 tank hunters left the factory painted in dark sandy yellow, dunkelgelb. Camouflage patterns were painted onto the vehicle when it arrived at the unit it was assigned to. In October 1944, new Jagdpanzer 38s were painted in a camouflage pattern before they left the BMM factory. It had a base color of dark sandy yellow, dunkelgelb, with stripes and patches of dark red-brown, rotbraun, and dark olive green, olivgrün. Black rectangular false vision ports were painted on the upper front glacis plate to try and draw the enemy's fire away from the driver's periscopes. Now, finally, about that designation. Many German armored fighting vehicles had very long official designations, so shorter nicknames were used to assist in recognition. For example, the Panzerkampfwagen 6 Ausführung E was called the Tiger. There are others like the Ferdinand, Panther, Grill, Vesper, Hummel, and many more. Some were official designations, while others were unofficial and came from the soldiers using the vehicle. The German High Command even issued orders for vehicle names to be changed because they were deemed to be misleading or not suitable for a vehicle belonging to the German army. Some of the names now used to describe Second World War German fighting vehicles appeared after the war. A few were the invention of scale model kit companies. The Jagdpanzer 38 was not officially called the Hetzer during World War II. What follows now will be an investigation in why the Hetzer nickname is associated with this tank hunter. And this starts with a Romanian army document dated April 1944, which recorded the visit of two German officers, Lieutenant Colonel Wenz from the Waffenamt and Lieutenant Colonel Heimann from the German High Command. They had come to inspect several vehicles, including the Maréchal light tank hunter. Its design is believed to have influenced the final development of the Jagdpanzer 38, although the timelines do not overlap very well. The comments of Lieutenant Colonel Heimann were recorded in the last paragraph on the first page. He said the Maréchal would make eine große Hetzer, a large Hetzer. They were not talking about a new name for the vehicle, but referring to the tactical and operational use of the Maréchal light tank hunter as an ambush vehicle. This document showed that the Germans were using the word Hetzer to refer to a type of vehicle used in a specific way against the enemy. He went on to say it would be a superior adversary against the Russians. The word Hetzer has not been used in this video because it was not officially used by the German army during World War II. It was a nickname used by some of the troops. The Jagdpanzer 38 was known by many different designations and abbreviations in official German army and factory documents. The following is an updated list of the different names and abbreviations given to the Jagdpanzer 38. The term Hetzer was a nickname and not an official designation. Leichter Panzerjäger auf 38T, Panzerjäger 38T, Sturmgeschütz neuer Art, Leichter Panzerjäger 38T, Leichtes Sturmgeschütz auf 38T, Panzerjäger 38 für 7.5 cm Pak 39, Leichter Panzerjäger 38T, 7.5 cm Panzerjäger 38T, Sturmgeschütz 38T, Sturmgeschütz neue Art mit 7.5 cm Pak 39 auf Fahrgestell Panzerkampfwagen 38T, Jagdpanzer 38. Project Hetzer was the name used by the team tasked with designing a low-profile self-propelled tank hunter with a fast, powerful 400 horsepower engine that would give the vehicle a maximum road speed of 70 km per hour. It was an Entwicklungsserien 10-ton vehicle that was allocated the designation E10. It did not enter production. Weight designation in E-series were not very accurate. The E10 was planned to weigh between 12 and 15 tons. The plans for the Jagdpanzer 38 and E10 were discussed at a concept design meeting between the German Army Ordnance officers from Wapro 6 and the Czech BMM company. The language barrier may have led to a misunderstanding. It is assumed the Czech company officials believed the Germans were using the name Hetzer when talking about their Jagdpanzer 38 and not the rival company's E10. Thus, the nickname Hetzer became connected to the Jagdpanzer 38, but not used as an official designation. Military historian Herbert Ackermanns found in the German archives a report dated 21 January 1944 that detailed the items on the agenda and minutes of a number of meetings about the development and production of weapons and equipment that took place with General Friedrich Fromm, German Army High Command, between April 1943 and the 21st of January 1944. Item 5 of the report dealt with the Kleine Panzerjäger, small tank hunter. Major General Beiswenger remarked that the introduction of such a designation was undesirable and that precise designations were required. Oberst Kron of Vaprov 6 informed those present at the meeting that the Romanian Mareschal tank hunter was of no further interest to Germany as production of the Jagdpanzer 38 was decided upon. This also meant that projects Hetzer, Rutscher, and Sprengstoffträger mit Puppen had been cancelled. This document provides evidence that the Jagdpanzer 38 and the Project Hetzer E10 were treated as two separate vehicles. However, there are a few wartime documents where the nickname Hetzer was used. So far, only 6 official wartime documents have been discovered. The first comes on the 31st of July 1944, when Panzerjäger Abteilung 743 reported having 28 Hetzers available, with an additional 14 Hetzers expected to arrive on the 3rd of August 1944, when the battalion would be joined by the 3rd Company near Warsaw. On the 3rd of August, Panzerjäger Abteilung 743 submitted a strength report that listed how many vehicles were operational and how many were lost, damaged or needing mechanical repair. In this and later reports, the nickname Hetzer was not used. They were given the abbreviated designation of Leichter Panzerjäger 38T. The second document comes from a Führervortrag briefing sheet dated 4th December 1944 from German General Heinz Wilhelm Guderian, which informs Hitler that the nickname Hetzer was used by the troops to refer to the Jagdpanzer 38. Hilary Lewis Doyle and Thomas Jens mention this in their Panzer Tracts book. The third document comes from the 19th of December 1944, which is a unit combat readiness report. It used both the abbreviation Panzerjäger 38T and just the nickname Hetzer when collating the figures of combat-ready Jagdpanzer 38 tank hunters. The 22nd SS Cavalry Division reported they had 2 Panzerjäger 38T available. The 8th SS Cavalry Division reported they had 3 Hetzers available. The subordinated unit, the Panzer Division Feldherrnhalle, stated that they had 3 Hetzers available. The fourth document was discovered by historian Herbert Ackermann in October 2020 as he was looking at documents in the Bundesarchiv Military Archive. It is a telex from Chief General Quartermaster Geschwender, Luftwaffe High Command, addressed to the German High Command Panzertruppeninspektor. He asked when the Fallschirmjäger Panzerjäger Abteilungen are planned to be re-equipped with Jagdpanzer 38 Hetzers. What are the composition numbers and the livery dates? It was sent on the 16th of February 1945 and used the name Jagdpanzer 38T (Hetzer). The fifth document was a unit combat readiness report from March 1945. In the 8th line down, under the heading Panzerabteilung 17, there is an entry Jagdpanzer 38T Hetzer. It is strange why this SS Sturmbannführer listed one Jagdpanzer 38T in short-term repair as a Hetzer, but later listed 10 Jagdpanzer 38T tank hunters belonging to the Panzerjäger Nibelungen as just Jagdpanzer 38Ts and did not include the nickname Hetzer. 7 of those 10 are shown as operational, 1 in short-term repair, 1 in long-term repair, and 1 with transmission failure. The sixth document that is known for now, this is the last one we have, is also a unit combat readiness report dated 7th March 1945 for the attention of the German Army High Command Panzertruppen D Inspector from Kampfgruppe Panzerkorps Feldherrnhalle. In point 2, under the heading Panzerjäger Abteilung 13, there is an entry 20 Hetzer, ready only after retraining of personnel on the Jagdpanzer 38. Earliest date 25th of March 1945. Like some of the other documents, it also uses both terms, Hetzer and Jagdpanzer 38. Now, and here's where the popularity of the designation comes. During the Second World War and when hostilities had finished, German military prisoners, engineers, and factory workers were interviewed by intelligence officers. The Allied translator chose to translate the German word Hetzer when it was used by the person being interviewed to describe the Jagdpanzer 38 as beta. These words appear in US, Soviet, British, and Commonwealth reports. The interviews were recorded in German. They also noted that the nickname Hetzer was used to refer to the Jagdpanzer 38, and some intelligence documents used the German words Hetzer rather than the English translation. Military Intelligence Section 10, MI10, was part of the British War Office that would later become part of MI6. It was responsible for technical analysis of weapons. The original secret documents were declassified on the 22nd of November 1988. Multiple British Army intelligence report and English transcripts of German transfer interrogations make use of the term beta as an English translation for the German nickname Hetzer when used to refer to the Jagdpanzer 38. These documents were collated and analyzed by MI10. In 1947, MI10 used the name Panzerjäger 38T Hetzer under a photograph of a Jagdpanzer 38 tank hunter in an official secret military reference book called Illustrated Record of German Army Equipment 1949-1945, Volume 3 Armored Fighting Vehicles. The publication was a summary of all the intelligence reports that MI10 had collected on German vehicles. Unfortunately, there is no information in this document about the intelligence source on which naming the Jagdpanzer 38 Hetzer was based. Many military history authors and magazine article writers translate the nickname Hetzer as beta or agitator. A dictionary definition of a beta is someone who deliberately annoys or taunts another. It is also defined as referring to a malicious, rabble-rousing agitator. Both these explanations of the use of the word beta have caused confusion as it does not describe or hint at the tactical deployment of the Jagdpanzer 38. There is another definition. A beta is a hunting term. It describes a hunter who baits a trap, lays in ambush hoping his prey takes the bait so that he can kill it. This does describe the tactical deployment of the Jagdpanzer 38. They were given the job of protecting the flanks of an attack or defending a section of the front line. Crews were taught to camouflage their vehicles and hide on the edge of woodland. They would be deployed in a troop or 3 or more Jagdpanzer 38 tank hunters and wait in ambush in a position where they had good visibility of enemy advancing units at a location they believed would be an Allied attack route. However, Ralf Ratz, the director of the German Tank Museum, who is German, says that Hetzer is a German hunting term. Hetzen means to hunt your prey at high speed until it collapses or is caught. This is what wolves do in the wild. This would also cover hunting fox, deer, and hare with dogs or on horseback. The term Hetzer was applicable to the Project Hetzer E10 fast tank hunter, but not to the Jagdpanzer 38, which was a slower vehicle that had only a top maximum speed of 40 km per hour. The popular modern phrase found on t-shirts, websites, and memes, Hetzer's gonna hits, and probably in the title of this video, is rather inaccurate. The Jagdpanzer 38 could not hit. It could not chase after its prey at speed. Its tactical deployment was as an ambush weapon. Unfortunately, there is not a word in English that is a good translation of the German word Hetzer. We have hare coursing, but a coursing or project coursing sounds really wrong. There is not an overall general descriptive word in English that covers hunting fox, deer, hare, rabbit at high speed until the animal collapses. The verb to harry is a hunting term but is associated with the bird of prey, the harrier, and the British fighter jet are called it for. Chaser would be the nearest accurate translation, although Project Chaser and the Chaser do sound correct in English. The problem with chaser is that the word does not always have a hunting association like the German word Hetzer. The way Jagdpanzer 38 operated in combat was the exact opposite of all these terms. Now, to summarize and put this absolutely stupid debate to rest, hopefully forever, the Hetzer designation was never an official name for the Jagdpanzer 38. However, it was a name that was used inside the German army, including in official German army reports. It was then picked up by Allied military intelligence and widely used, which is probably how it then got out and started being used by the model kit companies and now the video game companies. It is not wrong to call the vehicle a Hetzer. The best designation for it would be Jagdpanzer 38, but there is a literal ton of designations for this vehicle. So as long as we all understand what we mean when we say Hetzer, it's okay-ish, but we will choose not to use it. Now, on to the operational service. Starting from 20th June 1944, the Panzerjägerschulen started to receive Jagdpanzer 38 vehicles for crew training. A surviving Panzerjägerschule Milowitz document showed that Jagdpanzer 38 crews were encouraged to find pre-selected firing positions, preferably behind an earth wall in cover, like at the edge of a wood. Once targets had been engaged and there were no more targets available, the commander was to direct the driver to change to a different location by reversing out of their current position to avoid being hit by enemy artillery. Not turning around and going forwards, reversing. Don't show your sides or your rear to the enemy. The Jagdpanzer 38s were assigned to independent Heerespanzerjägerabteilungen, Army Tank Hunter battalions. They were to provide infantry divisions with a mobile anti-tank resource. When the infantry were under attack, they could be used as a resource to support the infantry's counterattack. They were not intended to be used instead of a tank at the front of an attack in a major offensive. The gun's limited traverse would make them liable to flank attacks. Each of the battalion's 3 companies would be given 14 Jagdpanzer 38s, and 3 were allocated to the Abteilungsstab, the battalion headquarters. 1 vehicle per company and 2 of the headquarters vehicles were issued with long-range command and control FU-8 radios. By February 1945, the authorized number of Jagdpanzer 38s per company was reduced from 14 to 10. The battalion-approved total was reduced to 38 from 45. The Heerespanzerjägerabteilung 731 was formed on the 2nd of November 1943 by Heeresgruppe Nord. Between 4th and 13th July 1944, they were issued with 45 Jagdpanzer 38 tank hunters for deployment on the Eastern Front. Between 19th and 28th July 1944, the Heerespanzerjägerabteilung 743 was issued with 45 Jagdpanzer 38 tank hunters for deployment on the Eastern Front with Heeresgruppe Mitte, the Center Army Group. In September 1944, the Heerespanzerjägerabteilung 741 was issued with 45 Jagdpanzer 38 tank hunters. 1 company was sent to the Eastern Front, but the other 2 were directed to the Arnhem sector in Holland. In February and March 1945, the Heerespanzerjägerabteilungen 561 and 744 were each issued with 45 Jagdpanzer 38Ts. In December 1944 and January 1945, 295 Jagdpanzer 38s were used in the Winter Ardennes Offensive, the Battle of the Bulge. The 2 companies of Heerespanzerjägerabteilung 741 and 18 other Heerespanzerjäger companies were deployed in the region. A Heeresgruppe B combat strength report dated 30th December 1944 stated that 131 Jagdpanzer 38s were still operational out of their initial strength of 190. Heeresgruppe G reported that it had 38 Jagdpanzer 38s still functional out of an initial total of 67. On the 16th of April 1945, during the attack on Bolatice in northern Moravia by Soviet forces, the 2nd and 3rd battalions of the T-34-85 equipped 1st Czechoslovak Tank Brigade advanced from an area near Albertovec farm. 2 tanks were left behind just south of the farm to guard against the flanking attack. Corporal Jan Zamechnik was the gunner in tank number 603. He fired on what he thought was a German machine gun nest on the edge of a wood. When it was neutralized, the crew went to examine the enemy position, and they were shocked to find that they had knocked out a very well camouflaged Jagdpanzer 38. The German crew had run out of fuel and main gun ammunition, but had still decided to fight using the machine gun on the roof of their vehicle. The T-34-85 crew had not identified it as an enemy vehicle because it was hard to see. On the 27th of April 1945, 8 T-34-85 tanks of the 3rd Battalion 1st Czechoslovak Tank Brigade advanced from the railway station at Dolní Lhota to the Kavisov village in the Ostrava city district in the Czech Republic. The attack halted as it encountered anti-tank obstacles. This was an ambush. 2 tanks were knocked out and a further 3 were damaged by a number of self-propelled anti-tank guns in concealed positions. The remaining tanks were forced to retreat. The Germans then made a tactical mistake. The crews of the Jagdpanzer 38 tank hunters counterattacked. They moved out of cover and into the village near the railway station. 1 was knocked out before it reached the village and another was destroyed near the houses on the edge of the village. The others withdrew. The first Jagdpanzer 38 had came off the production line in March 1944. By the end of World War II, the Czech company BMM had built 2,047 of them and refurbished 173 that came back to the factory for repairs. Another Czech company, Škoda, started manufacturing Jagdpanzer 38s and built a further 780 by the time of the German surrender. After the war ended, the Swiss were looking for new armored vehicles. They placed a contract with the Czechs. The first 10 that they received were German specification Jagdpanzer 38 tank hunters. The rest were new built vehicles for the Swiss contract. Some of them used World War II parts that were readily available. Later vehicles had newly designed parts. 158 Swiss contract Jagdpanzer 38 G13 tank hunters entered service with the Swiss Army. 94 of them were re-engined with diesel power packs. The last G13 left the Swiss Army in 1970. Many were sold to museums and private collectors who converted them to externally look like Second World War German Jagdpanzer 38 tank hunters. Now about the G13 name. This was just an internal manufacturer's code for the Jagdpanzer 38T in the Škoda factory. A World War II wartime Škoda Jagdpanzer 38T was called a G13 in the factory and in all internal documentation. G stood for Tank Hunter, 1 for Light, and 3 for model number 3. G11 was the Panzerjäger 1 and G12 was the Marder 3. Now for the Swiss vehicles post-war, the 75mm Pak 40 with a muzzle brake was used instead of the 75mm Pak 39 on the Jagdpanzer 38s. The Škoda factory did not have access to Pak 39 guns and used the Pak 40. In the Swiss Army, this tank hunter was known by the Škoda factory code G13 rather than the Jagdpanzer 38 or the Hetzer name. Overall, the Jagdpanzer 38 was successful. It was quick to build and cheap compared with the cost of constructing a Tiger, King Tiger, Panther, Panzer IV, whatever you have. It was technically reliable, easily concealed, hard-hitting, and when used right, a hard-to-kill vehicle. A company of Jagdpanzer 38 tank hunters working together, concealed in a good location, could damage or knock out a considerable number of attacking enemy tanks. Well, this was all for now. If you like our videos, please do consider donating on Patreon or PayPal. All of the funds go towards the beautiful illustrations that accompany all of our articles. You can also check out our website where we release more articles that do not have videos, and you can find us on any social media that is relatively big. So you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, even on Reddit. And if you want to come chat with us, there is a link to our Discord server down in the description. Until next time, keep it in your sights.